Good morning. Good morning. I am so excited to welcome you to another episode of Pretty Good Coffee. As you can see, I have a guest, but you already know what I'm going to say. Before we do introductions, before we talk about the word, before we talk about beverages, I'm going to tell you to stop, subscribe, press the like button, and then grab your beverage of choice and your word, and let's get started. Okay, so we are back and we are so excited to chat with you today. I have a guest who you guys probably have seen but not seen, and more so have seen her work and less of her face because she doesn't exactly like for us to post her, but all of that is changing very soon. So we're excited about that. So I'm excited to welcome Sisteria Simmons to Pretty Good Coffee. T, introduce yourself and then tell us what you're drinking.
First of all, this is so weird for you to say my government name.
I know. I did it for a little bit, but obviously I called you T after that. So
yeah, because I was like, Sisteria. I was like, that's so boring. What is that?
Yeah,
Okay.
it is.
Sorry, guys. We digress. Okay. So I'm Sisteria, also known as T. Let's see. How do we start this? I am a happy wife of 10 years to my lovely husband, Henry. We have two amazing boys. Henry Harrison. And when I say dynamic, I mean dynamic. That is Harrison also. Let's see. What can I say?
She is the owner of Align.
There we go. Okay. Sorry. We're going to plug that plug in there. Okay. I am the owner and brand designer of Align Solutions. We are a graphic and creative design company. So my mission is to help individuals, influencers, business owners, nonprofit owners. If you got a brand, I can help you. But the goal is to align your designs with your brand. And I mean that by supporting you and making sure that everything looks clean and is communicated and it looks like you. So, and also I am the program manager for PP Inc. If you see any of Petra's graphics, I did them. So if you like them,
she's also the CFO of PP Inc.
I am.
Right. So she not only does the graphics and the media, but she also holds the bag. So she has multiple hats. And for my brand, my personal brand outside of PP Inc., she is my content media manager. So she does all the things. She does all the things. So make sure that you go and follow Align Solutions for all of your graphic needs. And then let's go tune into this word together. Because when I say tune into, we're going to be tuning into the spirit as we chat with you. And I'm drinking water, by the way, guys. So I've already had quite a bit of coffee today. I'm drinking Zephyr Hills. I actually took this from Evie. This is her bottle. So if she runs in here and grabs it, let's all just pretend it's going to be
happening. Great. Don't worry about it.
It's going to be great. So we are going to be doing Joshua 1 and 9 today. Joshua 1 and 9. And we have talked about this. I read the NIV version. She read the CSB version. So T, I'm just going to let you read the CSB version because they're so close. And we'll just go with that version and we'll just jump right into our conversation. Is that cool?
Sounds good.
Okay.
So it says, haven't I commanded you? Be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid or discouraged, for the Lord your God is with you wherever you go.
Perfect. So that is Joshua 1 and 9, and that is the CSB version. And this is a popular scripture. We have all heard it, but not necessarily really dug deep into it. And so I really want us to do that today. Thierry is the Bible scholar in my circle. And so I'm really excited to dive into the word with her. And I'm really excited for you guys to hear kind of this prelude to what you will receive in the exclusive Facebook group, because she's going to be leading Bible study as well as we lead up to the Hey Pretty conference in January. So let's jump into Joshua 1 and 9, this scripture that you've been studying, and tell me what the Lord has been downloading to you, T.
Okay, so as per today, yes, I am the resident Bible study teacher. I am literally a Bible study teacher. I teach little kids too. So I will say, so God has actually had me in this scripture for 2 or 3 months at this point now. And so it's come from two different directions. So the traditional method of new generation, new leadership, because
Mhm.
Joshua is the new leader, Moses has passed off the scene. Here we are, right?
Right.
But then he's also given me a glimpse of I'm in this season of me personally, I'm in the season of transition, and he's moving me to literally a new territory, a new land, and that it's something he's commanding me also, like he commanded Joshua to be strong and courageous.
Mhm.
So let me give a little bit of background knowledge of this.
Yeah.
So Joshua, for those who don't know, he's not just one book. He's actually introduced into the Bible in Exodus, and that is
Mhm.
Exodus 24:13.
Mhm.
Uh, I looked down because I have like 3 pages of notes,
Mhm.
because this is how I study.
This is what you do.
This is what I do. So if you go back to Exodus, you'll find Joshua, because Joshua is actually Moses' assistant.
Mhm.
So he's not new to God's hand. He's
Right.
actually has experienced God's hand firsthand with Moses.
Mhm.
So when there are times when he went up to the mountain and Aaron had to stay back, but Joshua went. So when God tells Joshua, haven't I commanded you? That is actually him saying, you see me.
Right.
You've seen me before. So it's not saying that haven't I commanded you, like you see me, so you know I've commanded you to do this,
Right.
because he's actually commanded him to be strong, courageous in Deuteronomy 31:7. This is when Moses, before Moses is transitioning off the scene, Moses tells him, because the Lord, if you find the verse, it says the Lord tells him to basically encourage him to be
Mhm.
strong and courageous. So this is not the first time that Joshua has heard this.
Mm.
And it's the same thing for us. This is
Right.
not the first time God has told us that he's told us to be strong and courageous. There's something coming. I've called you to do something. Because when God calls you to something, he's already kind of giving you a prelude beforehand.
Right.
He's had you do certain things and you're trying to figure out,
Yeah.
why am I doing it? And then all of a sudden, you be like, oh,
This
that's
makes
how
sense.
it comes into play. I see it now. And it's the same thing for Joshua here, is that he was preparing Joshua way back in Exodus. And
Mhm.
so when he gets to um, Joshua 1:9,
Mhm.
this is not new. Joshua 1:1 is not new, because even in Numbers and Deuteronomy, he was preparing him. He had already told Moses that he would be the next leader, because
Right.
Moses over here, being a little cocky, and the Lord said, you won't be seeing the promised land. So here we are. It's a little awkward, but as I prepare to tell you, you're not going, but your homeboy going, that one that you've been
Yeah.
helping out, encouraging, he's the one. He's the
Yeah.
one that's going to lead. But it's that piece of like God prepared Joshua along the way. It wasn't new for Joshua. So I feel as though when Joshua got to 1:9, it was like Joshua just was being reminded by God
Right. I
to be
like that.
strong, courageous. And so I actually broke it down to like 3 parts. So the first part is God asks us a question, he posed a
Mhm.
question.
Mhm.
Second part is God commands him to do something. And the third part is God reminds him. And God
Mm.
reminds him that he's always with him.
I like that.
And that, like, it speaks to me so much in this season, is that I have to be strong and courageous. He's called me to do so much, and it's so much bigger than me. But no matter where I am in this process, I know he's with me through it all.
I like that. I think that when I listen to that, and as we talk about how it's like broken down and how this is not the first time that he's had this conversation with Joshua, the part that sticks out to me is, even though it's a question like, have I not commanded you, like, haven't I talked to you about this before, right? But I told you to be strong. I told you to be courageous. I told you don't be afraid, like all of those things. But really, there's a part before that is, I told you to take the leap of faith.
Ooh.
And so for me, it's a two-part thing. So I not only commanded you to take the leap of faith, but I commanded you to do it completely,
Mhm.
without fear, with
Mhm.
all courage and no discouragement. It's a two-part thing. So I've had this conversation with you before,
Mm,
and you did part of it because the first part's not mentioned. And so that's for me this season.
right.
I've done part of something, and God said, there is a part two.
Ooh.
So you took this little leap of faith, and that's great. That's cute. But you still have fear. You still are discouraged in some areas. You're still not as courageous as you should be. You're not as bold as you should be in the things that I'm calling you to. So there is a part two. We've had this discussion. You heard me on a part of it. You have not listened for the second.
Right.
And so I am coming to not only ask you the question, to remind you of the directive, but to at the end give you the encouragement that this fear that you have is unreasonable because I'm already with you.
Always. Always.
Always. And so that for me is the thing. Like there's more to it than just be strong.
Mm-hmm.
You're being strong in conjunction with the leap of faith, in conjunction with the first part of the directive, because it's a two-part thing. You're showing up,
Yep.
right? Like, okay, I need you to show up to this. I need you to activate this. I need you to do X, Y, and Z. Cool. But what steps have you pulled back from or not done completely because you're still nervous about it? Or because you're concerned that people aren't going to respond well, or they're not responding well to the little bit that you've already done, or even the lot bit, y'all, because sometimes it is a lot that you've already done and people aren't, responding. And so you're discouraged, or you're like, you know what, I'm not ready for this, or this is scary, this is bigger than me, I'm overwhelmed by what you're asking me. But the reality is that what he's saying here is a part of this, which means that you're in disobedience even for the first part, because they're not separate.
Ooh. Ooh. Not you
Because
in
if you do
disobedience.
just a portion of it, because the word says you cannot be lukewarm. If he calls you to do something, you do that.
All of it.
Yes, right, all of it. And so you may have done the first part, but because you have not done the second part, this part is not valid.
Ooh. Okay. Okay. Okay.
And I think that that's the season that I'm in, and I am actively trying to get my behind out of.
Yes. Yes, she is.
Like for real. Like and now doing all the steps. Okay, I'm going to do this. Okay, what do I need to do here? Okay, what do I need to activate here? What have I not done? What am I scared about here? What am I allowing to discourage me here? How is my fear dictating my leaps here? Like, what am I not strong in? What do I need to have more quiet time about? What do I need to study more? Like, because the reality is when he says, have I not commanded you? What he's really saying is, have we not had the discussion before? And so there's still a part that you're not doing,
Mm.
right?
That's facts. That's facts.
That's the part for me.
And if you tie this actually back to the context of the scripture, like Joshua was commanded
Thank you.
long ago. Like actually
It's
think about
not
it.
recent.
It's not recent. It's not Joshua 1-1.
No,
We're not starting his story then. His story
no.
started actually when Moses sent the 12 individuals out to go spy the land. And only two came back and said, hey, this land is great. This is good. We should take it. Let's get it. And the other 10 were fearful. But what happened? But what happened to those 10? It's called a plague. And they died off the scenes. But who remained? Caleb and Joshua.
Yes.
Because they were obedient.
Mm-hmm.
They trusted God. They trusted that God had said that this is what's going to happen. He's promised us this land. Therefore, we're going to do it.
Mm-hmm.
But because of disobedience of the other
Yep.
10, and it brought fear upon the other people. And that's another thing, is that this is another reason why he's telling him to be strong and courageous, is because when God had commanded him to do something and these other 10 came back and said it was fearful,
Mm-hmm.
and were fearful, and that fear translated
It
over to this
trickles.
large group of people. So when God has called you to something, and he's told you to be strong and courageous, he's told you, do not be afraid, do not be dismayed, do not be discouraged. He's telling you for a reason. It's not just for you, it's for the people behind you. It's the people that are connected to you. Because if you're fearful, they're going to be fearful.
Yes.
And so you can't be fearful. And so he has to remind him this because he saw what happened. Because that's why they got stuck in the wilderness for 40 years, because of disobedience.
Because of disobedience.
So you wondering for 40 years, y'all could have been out of there 40 days, but for 40 years, for every year, for every day they went to spy. And that is why 40 days they spied. And for every year, he added a year for those 40 days. And that was why they were there. And so when he reminds Joshua along the way and telling Moses has to tell him, hey, be strong and courageous. He tells him that in Deuteronomy 31:7. He reminds him because he's already told him you're going to be the leader. So it's not new news. But then we jump to Joshua 1 and he reminds him even before the verse 9, 6 and 7, he reminds him, be courageous, be strong. He reminds him, and he even tells him what he's promised him. Is that not amazing? Like he promised him something and he told him, I'm going to lead you into this land. This land is for you and these people. It's not a question mark. Now, the question mark may be how we're doing this. But he's already given it in their hands. He gave it in their hands 40 years ago, but disobedience cost them 40 years of a delay.
That part.
And so he reminds him, Joshua 1, 6, and 7, be strong and courageous. Then he does a commandment of questioning in verse 9. But then again, oh, this is a great part. This is a great part. The people around you will remind you. That's it. So the Reubenites, the Gadites, and a half tribe of Manasseh. That's 12 tribes of Israel. Okay. Manasseh is part of Joseph's clan, just a little snippet there. But they remind him because FYI, they already got their piece of land. Yeah. They're good. Yes. They got their piece. Yep. Their people settled. They're great.
Yes, they're done.
They're done. But they remember the commandment too, that God promised the land to the rest of their people, that God told them that the men of valor have to carry on and to support their brothers in this. That's it. But they said, just a reminder to you, you be strong and courageous. Yeah. As you follow God, as Moses did. Like, ooh, the people around you will get it. Yes. That's the thing too.
The right people around you will get it.
Right people.
The right people around you will get it.
Facts.
Because I think that's also part of when you talked about, you were told way back when in Exodus and all those stuff, the 40 years, like if y'all actually go and study that, none of them were the ones that were left after the 40 years. It was the children. So,
yep.
Just be really, really clear about that.
And the only people from that generation that stayed was Caleb.
Yes.
And Joshua.
Yes.
That is
just keeping that in perspective. So if it's not the right ones with you, they can't go. Okay. If they won't have the right mindset, if they won't obey, if they won't push you into obedience, they cannot stay. And so in that 40 years, they were wiped out, except for their children. And of course, Caleb and Joshua and Moses, like that. But we'll put those to the side. But you know what I mean? Like, so I really want you all to catch it. Like, it matters who you have around you. It matters who you're connected to. Like that is a big deal, because a lot of what T is talking about, like he told him, because I just reread verses 6 and 7 as she was talking, and it says over and over, be strong and courageous, be strong and courageous. And again, those are directives that are attached to something he's already told you, because a lot of times what people get focused on is the promise, like, oh, he's promised me this. And so it talks about, because you will lead these people to inherit the land. Do not turn from it right to the left, that you may be successful wherever you go. Like, people focus on those parts of it, but to get to that, you actually have to fully obey. You have to fully obey. And these are not, you can be strong and courageous. You can overcome discouragement. It says, be strong and courageous.
Not question.
Not be discouraged. You see what I'm saying? Like, there is an actual directive there that is connected to the first step that he told you. And I've talked to you guys about this 1,000 times. God will give you a step, and until you perfect that step, you will not get to the next. And so that's a lot of what's happening here. Like, you were told these things, do this, and do it in this way. So this is the what, this is the how, right? This is the how, and here is your result. But you cannot get to the result without doing the how. And the how is doing it without fear, because you trust that he's with you. Not because it's not crazy, because it is crazy.
Yeah, it's totally crazy.
Absolutely 1,000% crazy. But you don't have this overwhelming fear because you have leaned into the trustworthiness of God. When you do not trust him, you're calling his character into question, which means you're calling him a liar, which is dumb because he's not. He's not. He's never lied. He's never failed. He's not human. That's us. We're the
Even when
ones
we've
that
been
screw up.
disobedient, he's never failed.
But he's never, ever, ever, ever failed. Even when things have fallen apart, things have been turned upside down, you haven't received the answer that you wanted to receive, things weren't as smooth as you wanted them to be, it wasn't because he failed. If you look back over everything, it wasn't because he failed. It was because either you were asking for something you didn't have any business asking for, and the word says don't pray amiss, or you weren't following directions, so you got taken off the path you were supposed to be on, or he was responding to your needs and not your wants. But he didn't fail.
Did not.
And so when you lean into the trustworthiness of God, then you no longer have this overwhelming fear. And then you're able to complete the how of the equation. And the how is what gets you to the result that you've been praying about.
I would pose something is that if you are fearful, and we're not saying that you can't be fearful.
No.
But you need to evaluate where that fear is rooted to and rooted from.
Absolutely.
Because there's something that has caused you to be fearful and doubt or question the Lord. And so you need to address that and figure out what is causing that in order for you to move forward. But in the midst of that, you also have to remind yourself of how God has been so faithful to you along the way. Like, it's not as though God has failed you. God has always been with you, even if you weren't listening to him, if you weren't aware of his presence, or if you weren't trying to be in tune with his presence. He was always there. But the reality is, you have to question and evaluate yourself to figure out, why am I not in tune with the Lord? Why am I not listening to the Lord? Why am I not trusting him? Is it past experiences? Is it past disobedience? Is it the people around you that make you question the goodness of the Lord? And if that's the case, you need to dead all that.
All of it.
All of it. And I literally mean it, like, dead them broke friends, dead that crappy mentality. And I literally mean crappy mentality, because God has never, ever not given you what you needed. He's never left you alone. Even when you were in darkness, he was light, because he doesn't know what darkness looked like. He is the light. So even when you feel like you're in darkness, he's there. So if you are in a place where you're like, God's told me to do something, I want to do it, but I just don't know how to do it, don't worry about the how. It's not about the how. It's about you trusting the God of creation, the God who created you, the God that has done signs and wonders. I'm talking about things that you never thought you would be able to experience, a life that you never thought you'll be able to have. Shoot, you woke up this morning. How about let's go there? You woke up this morning, baseline stuff. You got in a car, you got on a bus, you bought lunch, you took your kids to school, whatever it is. This is baseline stuff that many people don't get to do. Some people didn't wake up. Some people trying to figure out how they're going to get a car. Some people trying to figure out how they're going to get to work. Some people trying to find a job, but God has blessed you with this. So if God can bless you in this season, why can't he bless you in abundance?
Mm-hmm.
And the abundance is not for you. Remember that.
No,
It's not for you. It
no.
is for the people around you, but ultimately it's for his glory.
Right.
His glory.
Yep.
So when you're questioning, can you be strong and courageous? Am I fearful? Am I dismayed? God is with you.
Mm-hmm.
He is with you. So hold on to that. He's with you. So if he's with you, that means no matter what, no matter how wild the idea looks of you doing something, he's with you.
That's it.
If he gave it to you, he's with you. He will help you carry it out. And there's no ifs, ands, buts about it.
At all. At all.
Let me tell y'all something. A year ago, God was like, you won't start this business, you're gonna quit the little job. And I'm like, that's cute. And I'm like, what business? What are we doing
What are we
here?
doing? Yep.
And I was like, for a few months, I was straight up disobedient. I was like, okay, we're gonna dibble down, we're gonna dibble down. And he's like, literally, y'all, 3:15 for weeks, waking me up. So you ready? We doing this? Like, we're here, let's do it. And I was like, you know what? I'm tired of wrestling you like Jacob. My hip can't be out of place like Jacob's was. So therefore, I'm not gonna wrestle you. I'm
Yeah.
done fighting. Let's do this. What are we doing? And he gives me aligned solutions. This is literally how this business is birthed. I had no idea I'd be doing graphic designs. I've been doing graphic designs for like 3 or 4 years now. And I was doing it like when I was 7 too. And I didn't realize it was graphic designs. Let's go there. God preparing me for the next step. God preparing me for my now. But all I want to tell you is that we have to stop fighting him.
Yeah.
We have to stop fighting him.
Yeah.
There's no point in us fighting the God who knows all. If he told you, trust him, just trust him for what he said. Just trust him. It can't hurt you. Now, it can hurt you if you trust what you think or
Right.
what people tell you.
Mm-hmm.
But if you trust the God of the all-knowing,
Mm-hmm.
it cannot hurt you to trust him. Because even if he deviates you from the plan he gave you, you're on his plan.
That's it.
Not yours, but his.
His.
And that's what matters because it's all about his glory.
That's it.
That is it.
I think one of the things that is really standing out to me is that fear is a question of trust.
Mhm.
And so when I say like it's crazy, it's dumb not to trust God because his track record is clean. It's true. And that's why the scripture is the way it's worded. Do these things because I've already shown that I'll be with you.
Absolutely.
So your fear is a question of your trust.
Mm.
It's a question of your trust. And so when you find yourself unable to fully jump or immerse yourself or commit to whatever it is he's calling you to, it's a question of trust.
Mhm.
And the word is telling you right here that you don't have room for that. You don't have room for that. He says, do these things and do it in this way without fear, without questioning me.
Mhm.
So then you can reap the results which you so desperately want. Because we all do. We all want to live a life of peace and fulfillment.
Oh yeah.
We all do. That's across the board. We're not talking about anything crazy. This is just peace and fulfillment. Our needs taken care of. Everybody wants that. And to get there, you have to do what he's asked you to do in the way that he's asked you to do it. And the way that he's asking you to do it is by trusting him. That's what the scripture says.
Yep.
If you strip it down to the nuts and bolts, I told you to do something. I'm reminding you that our conversation. You're still not doing it the way I want you to do it. This is how you're supposed to do that. It's a question of trust. January, we're going to be opening up the Facebook group and it's going to be so dope. You're going to love it. You're going to love it.
Okay.
Desi and Vic have a lot planned for you this year as we ramp up towards one of the most amazing weekends you will ever experience as a faith girl. And this is not the last, this is the first. And the first is always really, really special. So I don't want you to miss this first installment of the Hey Pretty Conference. So hold on to Joshua 1:9. Make sure that you have your pretty good coffee for this week. Go to heyprettylife.com and get your ticket and get your merch. And then we will see you next week. Bye.
Bye, guys.
Yay!